Gabriel, the ball sailing over the bar. And just like that, it's over. Arsenal came so close, so painfully close to doing something that hasn't been done in 140 years of this football club, the Champions League. The one trophy that's always been out of reach. And on Saturday night in Budapest, it stayed that way. PSG are back-to-back European champions. Arsenal go home with nothing.
I don't even know where to start here. We were the better team for large parts of that match. Havertz put us ahead after 6 minutes. We defended brilliantly in that game. And then a penalty. Dembélé, who, the whole thing just unraveled after that penalty. It's heartbreaking, really. It genuinely is.
It is, and we're gonna dive into the match in this episode. This is Disputed episode 9 on Sports Talk Media HQ. I'm Nate alongside our Arsenal diehard fan, G. And today we do the full post-match review. The goals, the penalty shootout, the key moments, the decisions that decided the finals, and the big question, what happens to Arsenal now? Let's get into it. Let's kind of talk through what happened in that game. I thought Arsenal had a perfect start. 6 minutes, and they were ahead. And the way it happened, a Marquinhos clearance deflect off Trossard near the halfway line, and Havertz suddenly find himself with 40 yards to cover and a clear run at goal. He advances into the box, takes 3 touches with his left foot, and then absolutely rifles it into the roof of the net. Unstoppable. And Havertz, who has form on the biggest stages. Remember, he scored the winner in 2021 Champions League final for Chelsea against Man City. Delivers again. 1-0 Arsenal. Budapest goes quiet on one side and absolutely electric on the other.
When that goal went in, I genuinely thought, this is it. This is our night. The night we dreamed of. Remember, I had mentioned in the preview that we absolutely had to score first, because letting PSG score first will be mayhem. And the selection, which obviously I didn't pick out Havertz to start. The selection suddenly made sense with that goal. Arteta started Havertz over Gyökeres, and he delivered as he has always done on the biggest stage. PSG now had to come after us, which actually suited Arsenal perfectly. They sat deep, and the plan was hit PSG on the counter and then protect their lead. And for almost an hour, we did exactly that. Raya was barely tested in this game. Saliba and Gabriel were immense on the night.
So let's talk about the penalty, because that was something that I think that was a key moment in the game that changed everything. 65 minutes, Kramfas Kelly, who has, to me, he was a constant menace all night. He dives into the Arsenal box and goes down under a challenge from Mosquera. The referee pointed to the spot immediately. Penalty to PSG. What do you think? I don't know what was that for you, really?
Honestly, the frustration on that day I've watched it about five times. Really, was that a penalty? That ref, honestly, remember just after the first half when Arsenal had a corner to take for whatever reason, he blew halftime whistle and didn't allow Arsenal to take it. So for me, I was just thinking, man, was that a penalty? Even though, to be fair, Mosquera did catch Carrasquelia, but Carrasquelia was looking for it because that's what Carrasquelia does. He's brilliant, don't get me wrong, but he knows how to go down under the slightest of touches. Uh, you know, I don't think it was a clear penalty, but it was given. And Dembele, who had been kept quiet all game, I didn't even know until the penalty. I didn't see Dembele in the game, but Dembele on penalties, ice cold. He sent Raya the wrong way. The game 1-1, and it was game on. Really frustrating, frustrating.
I know for a fan, for you, it was frustrating, but let's look at what really happened. The contact was there. No, was it soft? Absolutely, it was soft. Was a penalty in the Champions League final in 2026 by the penalty. Referees are giving those. What I'll say is that Arsenal's defensive shape got a little passive in that period. If Atlanta could do something differently, I thought he could have brought in Timber maybe 2 minutes earlier because Mosquera having that yellow card kind of played on how he defended from that point forward. Arsenal dropped too deep also, and he invited the PSG. You can't keep defending for that long in the Champions League final. And again, when you do against Kvaratskhelia in the tight area, that's a risk that nobody wants to take. Let's talk about the extra time. Arsenal looked the more likely side to make it. When Dembélé was taking off the game and Kvaratskhelia was taking off the game, I thought maybe PSG was giving up on this game. That was what I was thinking. PSG also has some moments. Kvaratskhelia club should have put them ahead. But Lewis Kelly, he produced an absolutely incredible intervention. It was someone that you thought should start in our pre-match review and US Potter. That was a great call. And the shot got deflected onto the post, and then with literally 10 seconds of extra time remaining, Gyökeres get a shot away. Safonov saves. It goes to penalties. It goes to penalties.
For me, like you said, in the extra time, even with Dembele taking off and Kvaratskhelia taking off, I tell you for a fact that apart from that penalty incident, the Arsenal defense actually kept both players quiet. I was so shocked. You know, Mosquera did a very awesome job on Dembele and even Bukayo. So in if that Gyökeres' chance had gone in at the end, during extra time, just 10 seconds, like you mentioned, if that goes in, Arsenal are European champions. Just 10 minutes. That's the margin between glory and heartbreak. 10 minutes.
Oh, you meant 10
I can't
seconds?
even think. 10 seconds rather.
Yeah.
10 seconds. When I think about it, the more I think about it, the more I'm just like, we could have just held on. That shot goes in, and we're talking a historical season for us now today. I can't even think about it. Why that ball didn't go in, you know.
Yeah. And one thing at extra time was the Mendes, Madueke, the tango. Sibel whiffed it away. Arteta and Rice were both booked for protesting. That was the issue that I believe we debated for a long time. For our viewers, should the penalty shut at the extra time have been given? We want to hear your comment or your think. Do you think that was a penalty or wasn't a penalty? Now let's talk about the penalty shootout. That was interesting. PSG win the coin toss. Now they won the coin toss and they chose to shoot towards their own supporters. That matters psychologically. You want your fans behind the goal you're shooting at. And then, of course, they have to. I'm looking at the order of the penalty. They went first with Giancarlo Ramos. He went first. I think it's called. Let's go through the kick. The first one was Giancarlo Ramos. It's called. That was a 1-0. You guys had Gyökeres goal. A fire steps up, right corner. Safinos goes one way, 1-1. Then Kim Due, PSG. I think he's scored again 2-1. Easy. I don't know. Like when we're watching the game, you mentioned that you didn't like the way maybe his reaction was. It didn't look confident, to be honest, in that game. And then he missed. Now we have 2-1. And then Raya, who I believe is maybe one of the best keepers in Europe, in my opinion. Raya saved.
Well, let's go back. That is a moment. That is once it started stuttering, I just knew. Remember, even you mentioned that, it's skillful. And I told you, I said, penalties isn't about being skillful. You just have to pick a spot and smash the ball without having to do any skills. There's really no point. Just pick a ball and blast it as hard as you can. The more I think about that penalty miss, it's almost like once he missed that penalty, I just had it in my head that, you know what? We've lost the Champions League. That was what I thought.
Yeah. And if you look at during the game, so Icha came now, Raya did a great thing, saved. And that was like, now we're back level now. Now we have an opportunity now. Now Rice came in, scored 2-2. Now we have leveled. At that point, I thought you guys had the game, honestly. I thought you guys had the game in hand. And then Hakimi came, scored 3-2. But then Matleli came. Matleli sent started for one way, 3-3, back level. Right. And I think PSG came with Lucas Berardo, who scored 4-3. And then Gabriel had the opportunity to send the game to kind of extend the shootout. Missed over the ball. Before Gabriel even scored, when Raya had that save, what were you thinking?
The noise. The way I was watching from home, I was off my seat. I couldn't really watch the penalties. I kept getting up and sitting down. But when Raya made that save, the noise that I let out, I just felt, we had a chance. And if Gabriel scores, we are European champions. That was my thought. Gabriel scores, and we are European champions.
And then he missed. PSG win 4-3 on penalties. They are Champions League winners for the second year in a row.
For me, though, I can never blame Big Gabby. I can't. Up until that penalty moment, I had picked him as the man of the match because he was immense. He was our best defender on the night. He gave absolutely everything. You know how penalties are very cruel. That's all it is. It's very, very cruel. The more I think, when I think about it, I'm like, oh my God, I wish this Saturday was the game because that wasn't how the game should have ended, in my opinion.
Okay. To our viewers out there, who do you think should have taken Arsenal penalties? Will you have chosen differently? Please comment. We want to hear what your thoughts are about the Arsenal penalty takers. So let's talk about there are a few things in the game that I want to hear your opinion on. The game turned on Siebert's penalty decision. Right? I was talking to someone about the game recently. And that was like, without that penalty, I don't think they could have scored on Arsenal. That defense was stellar. You guys have not even lost a game in Champions League. Yeah, it took a penalty at the finals for Arsenal to lose. Moscow catches Kvaratskhelia. The contact was there, absolutely. But was it enough? Was Cabra looking for it? This will be a debate for years. Well, I want to get your thought on that.
From from the perspective of an Arsenal fan, really, I thought it was soft. I thought it was a soft penalty. In the game of that magnitude, I just thought, there was a lot at stake. You want more certainty from a referee before pointing to the spot. Mosquera obviously was clumsy. Yes, he was. But Kvaratskhelia goes down very, very easily. If that same challenge happens in the Premier League, it doesn't get given, nine times out of 10. One of the few mistakes, in my opinion, that Arteta made was not substituting Mosquera. Immediately he got that yellow card. Mosquera at 21-year-old was actually defending against the best winger currently in the world. And on top of that, he had a yellow card. And I knew that it was going to be a target. What I thought, would have happened was that Arteta should have brought Timber in. Immediately, Mosquera got that yellow card. I tell you one thing, had Timber been on the pitch at that time, I don't think we lose that game. That game, there's no way Kvaratskhelia wasn't, as much as people say, oh yeah, they won now and then, people can say, they had a good game. Kvaratskhelia was kept quiet by Mosquera for most part of the game. The one time Kvaratskhelia actually went at Mosquera was when he knew that I already had a booking. So he was looking for it. So for me, I'm seething. I'm seething right now that Arteta didn't think. I was immediately got that card. I was just screaming, bring Timber in. Whatever condition he was in, he would have been a better person to have come in at that point in time, because the game was ebbing away and our defense was growing in confidence at that time. You can imagine, you've played all of 65 minutes and PSG, the best attacking team currently in Europe, couldn't break Arsenal down. And then Arsenal, with that 1-0, I don't think they would have broken Arsenal down in the next 25 or so minutes. But Arteta missed that chance to actually to have altered the game one way or another.
Yeah, and I understand the frustration, but referees are told to protect attacking players. There's contact. Kvaratskhelia is in the box going forward, and a defender catches him. The rules as they are applied in 2026, that's the penalty. Arsenal can't say they weren't warned. Mosquera has to be smarter in that position. He has to be. He has to be smarter. So what are you thinking right now with the performance? Like, you guys had a good first half performance. So what do you think right now? What are your thoughts on that?
The Arsenal's first half performance was perfect. The low block, hitting PSG on transitions. Havertz was the outlet, which was brilliant. But when PSG equalized, did we go too passive? Did we sit too deep in extra time and invite pressure? I think Arteta could have been braver with the substitution. We needed someone to grab the game on the scruff of the neck. For me, Odegaard shouldn't have started this game. He should have come from the bench, and because it would have been a better substitute to change the course of the game. All throughout the game, he didn't do anything for me.
I thought Arteta set up brilliantly to get the lead. The problem is, once you score in the Champions League final, the temptation to protect it is overwhelming. And PSG are too good to just sit back against. But hindsight is easy. In the moment, with 1-0 in the UCL final, you're not going to throw caution to the wind. The penalty changed everything. Up until that point, the 30 were working perfectly. It works. Arsenal was on track for a quadruple at one time, then it became a treble, then a double.
You don't have to go there.
No, not that I was trying to rub it on. I was just thinking about what your season is. But one thing that people get lost is in the outbreak is that Arsenal won the Premier League this season. That's a big deal. That's your first title in over 20 years. You reach Champions League final unbeaten in 14 European games. You went 120 minutes with the best team in Europe and lost some penalties. That's not a failure. That's the foundation of something special, in my opinion.
Well, you're right. I know you're right. It just hurts. It hurts too much. Right now, I feel, it hurts to feel it. The Premier League title was incredible. At the start of the season, if you would have told any Arsenal fan that you win the Premier League final and get to the final of the Champions League this season, we would have beaten off your hand. But we were 90 minutes, as in 120 minutes away from completing something truly historic for the club, and we didn't. That's going to take time to get over. It will take a long time.
No. Our viewers out there, is still, okay, if you look at what Arsenal has done, which we kind of touch on, they won the Premier League, they play against the best team in Europe, and it took penalties for them to lose the game. Is this Arsenal's greatest season in 20 years? This was that final defeat. Let us know what you think below. If you think great season by Arsenal, won the Premier League, did great in Europe, or if you think otherwise, let us know. I want to kind of talk about the players, what my ratings are for those players. I'm going to touch on a few, and I want to hear your opinion about what your own scores are for the players. If I look at, for me, if I look at Kvaratskhelia, I'm going to give him maybe like a 7.5, 8. He won the penalty. He caused havoc all night. It was dangerous, but I don't think he played at the level I've seen him play in terms of being that. Like if I look at the game against Bayern Munich, it was a problem. But against Arsenal, I think it was kept at bay. I probably give him a 7.5. Dembele, up on the penalty, I don't think he did it much, but that penalty was ice cold. Because he scored when it mattered, I might give him like maybe, I probably give him like a 7.5 or so. I think he was there, but I don't think he did anything special. Hakimi, he scored his penalty. It was dangerous going forward all match. I'll give him an 8 out of 10. Marquinhos, I think it was composed at the back. It was a leader throughout. I'll give him an 8 out of 10. Safonov, I couldn't be that average goal. I don't think anybody can catch that. That was a bullet. That was a rifle. But it was solid when called upon. I thought he made some saves that helped. I'll probably give him a 7 out of 10. Like, what are some of your player ratings? What do you have for your head?
If I'll have to just go through, for me, for the Arsenal players, really. Raya, as usual, even though that day wasn't like his best kicking or distribute, he didn't distribute the ball as well as I know Raya to be good at. But the penalty save from Nuno Mendes really kept Arsenal in it. Was exceptional when it comes to, and then he had the save. There was a save he had where the ball hit his chest and then he took it at a very crucial moment in the game. And then for me, Saliba. Saliba is always calm in games. I give him like a 9 because he was dominant. Like I told you, I didn't even know that Dembele was in the game. I didn't know he was composed. On that day, I was thinking if Saliba were to have stepped up to take that penalty, he probably would have converted it because Saliba is ice cold, is calm, and I would have expected that he would have put the ball in the back of the net. For Gabriel, it was brilliant all match. Honestly, up until the penalty miss, which I still would not blame him for, I'll give him an 8 over 10 because he was very unfortunate, and but throughout the night, he kept the PSG attackers at bay. Declan Rice, maybe I'll give him a 7 out of 10 because he can play better than that. Even though he grew into the game as the game went on, he scored his penalty. He worked tirelessly as usual, and he was the engine that Arsenal needed. He should have converted. There was a chance he got, and that he could have converted at the end of the first half. Havertz obviously scored the goal. I'll give Havertz 7 because outside of the goal, really, I think he tired out, and but that goal was pure. It was clinical, and he led the line, well before he was subbed. But I guess he tired out, which is what Havertz give you. For Bukayo Saka, that wasn't his best game. But when I watched the game again, I noticed that the only reason why he couldn't do as well as he normally would do was because they were doubling up on Kvaratskhelia. He was having to help Mosquera, on that right hand side, and he didn't really attack Mendes as I would have expected him to. In fact, Noni Madueke did more attacking Mendes than Bukayo did. Odegaard, I give him a 5. It was not. He had some bright spells, but it wasn't in that game. The real Odegaard, I never saw Odegaard pick up the ball and pass it, forward. It was limited by the influence. Like it was limited by the PSG press, and maybe he should have just come from the bench because sometimes it's better off coming from the bench. Jokeres, Jokeres was Jokeres. I did put in that ball into the net. We'll probably be talking. He was man of the match because you know how Jokeres has a great shot on him, but he scored his penalty, and he could have won the game in the dying seconds of the extra time. Was very unlucky on the night. Easy, easy, easy. Let it all work out. That's my boy, but come on. Come on, you're a professional. Put your laces through it. I can't even just escape it. That penalty miss, as much as we're all like, obviously we have to rally around him, but that game was in Arsenal's hands. You're taking that penalty. You have a good strike on you. Go lace it up and blast your penalty. I don't know what happened there. So yeah, he had just one job because it came in extra time. He didn't even start, so it was fresh. And then Mosquera, I'll give Mosquera 5/10 because he worked hard all game, kept Kvaratskhelia quiet all game. But that foul, he was very naive at a very, very crucial time in the game. But what will a 21-year-old do? He's 21 and he showed it. As much as he played well, but eventually he showed his experience and his age really, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah, absolutely. One PSG player rating that I forgot to mention is Nuno Mendes. I thought I was going to give him an 8 out of 10. I thought he did a great job in defense, keeping Bukayo Saka at bay. Bukayo didn't play his best, obviously, but I thought Nuno Mendes was very, very composed
That was
behind.
because Bukayo didn't trouble him, really. He
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah. But from what I'll give him an 8 out of 10. Maybe because either because he was able to stop Bukayo or Bukayo didn't really put his best forward. But I see him as an 8. Viewers, do you agree with our ratings? Drop your own player ratings in the comments. I want to see what you thought about PSG players and Arsenal players. PSG back-to-back league winners. I know you don't want to hear that. The second team in history to defend a trophy in the modern era. Arsenal heartbroken, but not broken. A Premier League title, a Champions League final. This club is back at the top table. And next season, they'll be back. Subscribe so you don't miss our full season review episode when the season starts. But right now, looking forward to talking about the World Cup, which is starting in June. Arsenal did everything. Arsenal did everything this season. PSG also did a great job this season. We'll see what happens next season. But until then, drop your comments below. Who do you blame? Who do you praise? And does Arsenal season still go down as historic? This is disputed on SportsTalk Media HQ. We'll see you next time.
Subscribe.